and welcome to the SAP Analytics Partner Series. I'm Shailendra, and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you're safe and maintaining your social distancing, as it is very important. If you can hear me, then press the thumbs up and tell us which part of the world you are joining us from. So tell us the city or the country where you are joining us from. So it'll be good for me to know where my audience is coming from. So please, in the comment section, let us know where are you joining us from. And also, please press the thumbs up button, the like button. So for you to view this episode and other sessions that are run on emerging technologies live, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. This gives you an opportunity to directly ask questions from our guests. So please press the follow button if you're watching on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button and smash the bell icon so that you can be alerted. And for maximum reach of this episode on Facebook, please like it, press the thumbs up and or the heart, and also share this episode with other groups which are like-minded groups with SAP and analytics and that kind of background. So more and more people can learn from this episode. Okay, in today's episode, we will talk about technology that is directly relevant and responsive to the global shift that has taken place in business as a result of COVID pandemic. Specifically, we will talk about emergence of a distributed workforce solution that optimizes the productivity and business value of an increasingly remote workforce. Okay, to discuss this, I have three guests, so not one, not two, three guests from the US who have been working at the forefront of digital transformation innovation for the past several years. And I think it is a good idea to talk to them about the situation we are in. So there is your opportunity to ask questions to them. So if you've got a question while during this session, please put that in the comment section, and don't forget to tell us where are you joining us from. So please, if you've got a question, and I will take that question in the audience Q&A section so that those guys can take that question for you. And also don't forget to press the thumbs up if you're watching this live. Okay. My first guest, so let me introduce my first guest, is Senthil Kumar. He is the chairman and CEO of Sierra Digital. Senthil has a passion for driving business value, leveraging technology that is at the forefront of the digital transformation frontier. Senthil's company, Sierra Digital, as it is, a premier SAP partner, has experienced exponential year-on-year growth since its inception in 2002. Sierra Digital's customer set now includes more than 150 world-class brands, including Toyota, Procter & Gamble, Goodyear, Walmart, and dozens of federal, state, and local government entities in the US. So without any further ado, let me bring in Senthil. Hi, Senthil.
Hey, Shaili. Good to be with you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. Welcome to the SAP Analytics Partner Series.
Thank you
this
so
is the
much.
first episode. So thank you for joining.
Sure.
Okay, give me a second. I'll bring other guests as well before we start the conversation and the meat of the conversation. So my second guest is Venkata Arikirevula, and I'll make sure that I'll ask that to him whether I pronounced it right. Venkata Arikirevula, okay, CTO of Sierra Digital. Venkat is an expert in emerging technologies, enterprise architecture, and business transformation, with more than 29 years of implementation experience leading Fortune 100 companies. Okay, I missed something. Did I? He's got over 29 years of experience in implementation, various SAP projects. So prior to joining Sierra Digital, Venkat held leadership roles with Cognizant, Bearing Point, IBM GTS, SAP America, and Accenture. So there are three common companies between me and Venkat, and we should ask him. So let me bring in Venkat. Hi, Venkat. How are you?
Hey, Shelly. Thank you so much. By talking about 29, 30 years of experience, sometimes makes me feel that we've seen a multiple evolutions. So digital is, it's been a funny one, but excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
And I did mention that we've worked at three companies at different part in time. So I've worked at Accenture, I've worked at IBM, not GTS though, and
Mhm.
I've worked at SAP. So three companies, and we've never crossed paths.
That is true. It's funny, the world is small, but I'm sure we will have commonality in terms of the people that we know across the globe for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and finally, let me bring the third guest as well. So we start the conversation itself. We have Abhiram Nachu, an SAP solution architect with Sierra Digital. Abhiram has a solution architect certification in Azure Cloud Computing, as well as certification in Qualtrics Customer Experience, which is very close to my heart as well, and Employee Experience Management. He's currently engaged on behalf of Sierra delivering technology strategies and solutions in oil and gas, automotive, and e-commerce industries. So let's bring in Abhiram. Drum roll for all three of the guys. Hi,
Yes,
Abhiram.
Ali. Thank you so much for having me.
Series.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Okay. The solution team at Sierra Digital is deeply involved in optimizing productivity in this fast changing world of COVID and the pandemic, the way it is changing. So I would like to begin with you, Senthil.
Yep.
Can you tell us what's changed in business and how so in the last few months? What has changed overall?
A lot of things changed, right? To kind of begin the story from the beginning of 2020, when I think the first quarter, March, I believe, when we started seeing this pandemic, COVID is coming through, and we never expected. We thought it's all going to be a short term,
Mhm.
and a couple of weeks, and we are going to be back, and everything is going to be fine, right? But after 4 or 5 weeks of shutdown, there you go, and goes for another couple of weeks, and it's the entire globe kind of got impacted. The business got impacted. Companies like us, the system integrators, got impacted. A lot of organizations have kind of lot of problems of having that productivity because everybody was started working from home, and it's a, I would say, definitely a big challenge, even as a company we faced, and for some time, for the first couple of weeks, we don't know how to really react, to this pandemic situation. um, but again, we are in business, we got to think innovative, and we ought to move forward, right? So what we kind of started doing is, kind of seeing some other companies and other organizations. We were having a lot of discussions with the CIOs, internal meetings, and finally, we felt that this is not going to go anywhere, and we are going to have some more different way of operating models, right? So there we kind of, I would say, it's a kind of another opportunity for us as a business. Companies like us, we always think very innovative, right? We say, what is that? We can make it work. So we were preaching, the digital transformations and cloud transformations of cloud computing, right? It was always a challenge to sell this digital transformation side. Customers started realizing it. Then we started getting more customers into moving them to the cloud transformations, digital side of the world, and increasing the, definitely a value for the customer, even with the limitations of what, the pandemic has given to work from home. I would say we were quite successful in the last 7 months. I would say our productivity has gone up compared to last year.
That's very interesting, actually. I would like to ask you one question.
Yeah.
And we were having this discussion yesterday,
Yeah.
and I think there was a joke going around for digital transformation. So, who do you think is the key driver of digital transformation in your organization? Is this the CEO, the CIO, the CTO, or COVID-19? And do you see the same kind of thing happening now, that all those first three haven't done much, so the COVID-19 has actually stormed it through?
It's a great question. I would say, it's a collective effort, right? But I would say, Venkat drives a lot of innovations. That's his job basically as a CTO, right? But as a company, we all kind of work together to kind of really, this is, as it's an entire vision and mission of the organization has to be, in line with what we want to do to the community or to the customers.
Okay, interesting. Guys, if you've got a question for Venkat, Senthil, or Abhiram, please put that in the comment section and I will definitely take that question to them as we go forward. Very quickly, looking at who have joined from which part of the world. I've got Thomas joining from US. I've got Arvind Kumar from India. I've got Pradeep Balaji from India. I've got Hari Chandru from India. I've got RTS Aravi from India. There is Lokesh Kharti from India, Tamil Nadu. I've got Ajit Kumar from India. And I've got Pavitra Balakrishnan from India. I've got Devi Priya from India. I've got Tony in Sydney on LinkedIn. And I've got Poonam Sood, who's a regular on this show from Sydney as well. Okay. So these are a few of the people who have joined us so far. So guys, if you've got a question, put that in the comment section. I'll take that question. And also let us know where you're joining us from. Okay, next question. So what is the solution to the world's problem of growing value, even given in a new distributed workforce? Venkat, what is the solution that you've got?
So I think like what Senthil was saying, when this hit us really hard, all of us pretty much, I think the push came a lot of how do you continue to be very engaged with the customers.
Yeah.
We always have worked and we use the word digital transformation in a very loose manner. But I would say we kind of worked in a remote way because we have extended teams across the globe. However, this kind of made the extended teams even locally within our own country, like, within Houston, when you say you would come to the office or you would go to Dallas. I think that moved everybody into the digital platform. It forced us. Now, your earlier question to Senthil was, how are we driving it? I think one of the first things that I did notice was, we as an organization made a conscious effort, obviously adopting to the platform's technology strategy. That's number one.
Yep.
We're also working closely with the customers. And I think when you look at the product strategy or the adoption of towards the cloud, we're seeing that happen significantly. Obviously, Zoom bombing happened in between, and Teams and GoToMeetings. These all became popular platforms. But I'll still say we kind of miss the earlier days where you could actually whiteboard thought process. So the good thing is that we're still being very productive, which has been a good sign. We've actually executed on a lot of projects during this time. And it's interesting that we've been running design and blueprint workshops through Teams and through Zoom. And also a healthy acceptance of, people coming from different sides of it. Suddenly you would have a kid come and jump on, and then they would apologize to you. But, at the end of the day, I think it was a very cohesive effort, I would put it this way. Very honestly, it has created, I wouldn't say a virtual bond, but it has created a bonding in a very different sense. That's number one. And the other aspect of it is when you look at the transformation story. Now, the element of the strategy part, where you still have to spend a lot of time discussing things, I think whiteboarding has become more digital whiteboarding now.
Yep.
But also we've moved into more of I would say, a hybrid agile methodology of how you start delivering projects, because now you need to show some value that is delivered literally every third or the fourth week. Now, that creates a very interesting situation because you're trying to go from a certain mode of functioning to a totally different mode, which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
And then people throw these terminologies very loosely. I'm going to be doing AI and I'll be doing machine learning and big data. But I would say we had a conscious strategy of a platform of how to integrate people, process, and technology right from the beginning. And we'll talk a little bit about it. I'm sure you'll show the video. And it was kind of a nice thing to have prior to the pandemic, before the COVID hit us. And now it's become a necessity today, is for a person who's having, let's say, 35, 40 different projects, being able to track it down, understand the pulse of how their business is working today, seamlessly through a platform. We were talking about it for the last year and a half. There was, I would say, a little adoption, which was kind of nice, but we saw a spurt happen right now, which really kicked off, which is kind of interesting. And that's how connecting those, and I think I can elaborate a lot more and I can go on about it, but I'll also let the other speakers talk about it and see if audience has a question. It's a different world. It is here to stay. I think it's more about collaboration and the ability to leverage the tools to do a better collaboration is here to stay. And thankfully, we built the platform way early, and now we're seeing it really pick up and take off. The other interesting aspect is, we miss the coffee chit chats. You go buy the coffee and you talk about things.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are some things that we do miss. So nowadays we're doing like virtual coffee sessions, which is kind of funny. But bring your own coffee, bring your own mug, and say, hey, cheers, and at least maintain the safe distance. But continue to keep the bond. Make sure that we're still delivering to the customer. So now it was a funny thing. I'll have to tell you a story. This recently, we were trying to close a deal. And normally deals, you kind of go meet with the customers and then you do a lot of things, right? And it was funny. We were working with SAP and then suddenly we had like 30 of us on a Zoom call with the customer felicitating. And we actually had like champagne shipped out to their home. I don't know if I should be saying that loudly. But we have that sent out, and we actually have the customer open up the champagne, and we all had a chance to say thank you. It's a very interesting way of collaborating. But I'm sure Senthil will add on to that story. I could see him bursting to speak about that specific example that I pointed out. Maybe Senthil, you want to elaborate those things?
Yeah, I remember that. I think so. Now it was quite. Most of the time now when we do the go live, generally we take the customers for the dinner and treat them and go and meet them. These days it's all just remote and have your own bottle of wine and just cheers and drink it. That's it. Call it as a day.
So things have changed, at least for even implementers, a lot in where they were earlier. And I remember when I was working for Accenture, it was go live was a party time. Actually, you've actually made it happen. And now you don't have that kind of togetherness and closeness. And to be honest, I tell you, I miss those coffees when I used to go and sit down with the customer and have a coffee and ask his problems and try to write down on a piece of paper. Now everything can be recorded and you can visit it again. But there's a challenge to that as well, and I'm making it up now, which it just hit me, that because everything is being recorded, someone is recording it, you can't say something which can be used against you later down the line. So you have to be very careful to what you're saying as well.
Right.
What do you think?
We all became like a president of United States. You're always wired.
Shally, but you bring up an important point. Actually, I agree with. So obviously, we are very respectful, and we'll always say before recording if anybody has concerns. I think that's become a norm. Number one, but the interesting thing is recording these, but the volume of data is still increasing at a significant pace.
Yep.
So now the question is, do you have a platform that actually allows you to kind of weave through it and extract the right pieces to it? Is also a challenge. We used to write on a piece of paper, we are saying it's recorded. But I think it's also very important. That's where the technology is kind of, I would say, playing a very important role. And it's helping us pull things together. Everything has become a DocuSign, as an example. There's no more concept of like, I'll sign off a BRD. I'll sign off on your requirements. You're just sending out a DocuSign, and life is all about everybody signing it off there. And the interesting thing is, at least the email pops up with an alert, hey, you haven't signed it. Which is a cool thing. Earlier, it was kind of a little bit uncomfortable. You would say, I've sent this to you, but you have not signed it, so maybe a milestone. But now the platform does it for you. So you can kind of hide behind and say, hey, it's not me. The alerts are set up in such a way that it triggers it automatically from a workflow that makes, I would say, a life a little bit more disciplined sometimes. But sometimes you just have to have that personal touch either ways that you cannot afford to lose, right?
Okay, to the audience, guys, if you've got a story that you want to share, good or bad, where you've had some experience with during the pandemic, sitting in a room, talking to the customer, talking to a client, talking to your boss, whosoever, an interesting story which we can share, please put that in the comment section and I'll take that. Okay, my next question is to Abhiram. And, I just want to know, when it comes to integration, Sierra Digital has done a lot of integration, and you're kind of a pioneer of sorts, right? So what kind of invention that your firm has done or you're best known for, Abhiram?
Sure, Shailendra. Sierra, we've been partners with SAP, and we know SAP. We call ourselves experts, and we've had the chance to work in and out of SAP for about a good amount of time right now, right? So traditionally, if you see in most enterprises, they tend to maintain two sorts of data structures, right? One, the manufacturing or the finance side of the house, where they tend to kind of store operational data or O data, right? And the sales and marketing side, more containing towards the external focus or customer focus, which is the X or experiential data. So Sierra Digital, we'd like to call ourselves the gap between this X and O. So we're trying to bridge the gap between these X and O data. A quick example, right? Let's go back to Apple and Windows users, right? When we had to ask a business user or an end user, which one would you prefer? If one picked one, you would not be able to have a chance to work on the other technology, right? So, and over the years, you've grown, the integrations happened, and the end users are in such a state that they can go ahead and work on either one of them, right? That's the integration. That's the integration that we're trying to bring onto the plate here. Similarly to what data does, right? There is an integration, there is a mending that kind of erases the line between the X and O and kind of combines that to deliver these actionable insights to business users, business leaders, C-level executives, depending on your user persona. That's the achievement that we're trying to get to.
So for the audience, let me just explain. X data is the experience data and O data is the operational data. Up until now, we were playing with the operational data forever across RDBMSs, structured, mostly structured. But here comes some semi-structured data with the X data, where you get information from the customer, or actually customer telling you what they want, actually. So that's where integrating both of them plays a major role, an important role in doing that. Abhiram, do you think? Do you want to explain any further on that?
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat that question?
Do you want to go any further on explaining the integration part, or should I move on?
Right. So in terms of combining X and O data, right? Operational data has always we've always done analytics around operational data to kind of fetch out, or you went out these you do analyticals, do models, you publish models to be able to deliver insights, right? To what you said, and like you said, customer experience, customer focus, that's the key business value driver for any organization, right? So that's the key integration that we're trying to bridge and combine, using feedback mechanisms, survey capabilities, or anything that would reach out to your end user or your customer in being able to gather real-time data. And in some way, if we can combine that data and see what that insight could deliver us, I think there's nothing like it.
Let me elaborate a little bit on that. So when we talk about the true full cycle from an experience to operations, I think I'd like to give you an example. So in when you are doing a project and you're actually collecting status reports. It's a very linear model in which it was happening before. Here we have leveraged the technology from a machine learning. We've basically used NLP, we've used artificial intelligence to really be able to collect live real time that integrates with the back end. So anytime a project governance committee or a program director wants to look across the board, it's at a click of a button that they get to see the data immediately. So there is no lag time in between any of those cycles that we normally spend to deliver. And that's something that we've been pretty excited about because everybody uses the word real time, near real time, but the beauty is combining the two together and being able to deliver it very seamlessly. I think that's the power of what the platform that we're actually now delivering to the customers. That is what is makes exciting, and I'm hoping that when they see the video or they have more questions, we can elaborate around use cases. And then before we do that, I just want to share. This is we've all in the industry for quite some time, and we're all pretty much I would guilty to say using Excel and MPPs and Word documents and PowerPoints, but adapting to what we call as a survey simple questionnaire, which you don't spend more than, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes, gives you back enough time to do real work while this is getting captured and real time anybody is able to pinpoint as to if a project is on track, on budget, wherever. Everything is tightly coupled and integrated and available at the fingertips, which is what makes it really cool. Hopefully that helps. So I'm just curious if the audience are, this is how it's evolved with a lot of adoption. And the beauty is I don't have to call somebody offshore to say, hey, is the task completed? I didn't see an email come back anymore. Right? They just pop and say, poop, next minute I know. And we're all guilty of, unfortunately, sleeping with our phones and tabs next to each other. And a ping goes in the night, you click on something and you say, okay, before the meeting, do I have the material handy or not? And it's sad, but that's the reality of life now. I think we're all hooked to our devices.
Well, I'll tell you one real incident that happened today morning. One of my real estate agents, she at 6 o'clock sent me a message, an email that that my tenant is vacating the house, vacating the unit. I got really pissed. I said, well, we just got this tenant 3 weeks ago, and now she's saying that she's vacating. So I just wrote back to her. Said, oh, accidentally I triggered a button. I just woke up and there was something. I just pressed a button and it triggered a workflow. So yeah, we're living in a very different world today, and I think a lot of things are being automated. And I think we should be looking at smart automation and the experience that the customers are getting with the understanding of what customers want as well. Okay. So tell me, guys, how does a typical project work for you guys? And I'll go with the man himself, Senthil.
Yep.
How do your projects look like? Let's say an organization is migrating from ECC to S4HANA. How does XNO, X data, O data integration fit to that particular project in real life? And also, you get data from Qualtrics and you get data from other sources as well. So how do you bring it all together?
No, great question, Shaili. So before we start on the topic, right? So I know that SAP has moved the date to 2027, but no matter what, this year or next year, everybody, is thinking on the transformation journey from ECC to S4, right?
Yep.
The questions always customer have in their mind when they think about this, it's what is the cost is going to be, right? Because they always, when a SI comes and starts the opportunity, the change order comes in and pops up with the delivery delays, scope creep, cost overages. They think 50 million, it costs 100 million. It's a pretty, it's the same story everywhere, right? So the customers are interested, but it has to be in terms of their budget, and they want to kind of understand what is the value they get when they move to S4.
Mhm.
With keeping all in mind, we started putting all our minds together to develop some micro apps in SAP Cloud Platform.
Mhm.
So how do we kind of have that, strategy to execution from the CIO office to the controller's office to PMO office to DevOps team, right? So we built 4 product lines on the cloud. So here I would like to talk about one especially, which is going to uh, be used in most of the S4 project management if they want to implement that, right? We call it as RPM, Remote Project Management Solution.
Mhm.
So this is a kind of built on completely on SAP Cloud Platform. It's a SaaS model, user based, very cheap, 75, $80 per user. But the value what is going to give you is enormous. It's like paying pennies and saving millions of dollars. That's the slogan we use for marketing this product line. So what we did is we also built in the project management with all the Activate methodology template. So you don't have to go and reinvent yourself, your things to kind of put your time to kind of see what is Activate methodology, how do you execute your S4 projects. And the other unique thing what we built is collecting your experience data, right? All the touch points from start to finish of the project with a set of audiences. Either it can be a status report from the teams, or it can be your leadership who is part of your committees sitting on a risk, or sitting on the delivery side, right? So we kind of keep collecting these data points, which we run a qualitative and text analytics, on the data points what we kind of collect, which where we will have a better understanding, to the project outcomes, and how do you kind of really improve, any kind of models, which we call it as a customer satisfaction in terms of delivery, right? Then on the other side, we also try to kind of input the O data, which is basically your financials data, either from an SAP or from non-SAP, and basically to kind of get that 360-degree visibility, to understand, how is your cost overages is kind of can be avoided. Uh, because we run kind of algorithms to kind of do your prescriptive, predictive analytics, your risk propensity models, understanding your scope creep before even you're hitting something with somebody. Uh, how do I kind of predict at least 6 weeks before I finish my blueprint that really am I done with my 100% blueprint, right? So it kind of it puts kind of a white and black in front of the customer. I can put it that way. There is nothing, because the surveys comes from different places. Then you're integrating your operational data from your project systems, from your financials angle. Immediately, you're seeing a different set of data points to understand where you're, where the project is going. Are you really going to complete within the given task, given time, with the given dollars what you got, right? It's a huge value proposition. I don't think no one has tried this so far, to my knowledge, to our experience of 23 years in this industry. Because you get a valuable insights out of this. This is going to be so imminent for them to be pretty successful and have that productive, go live with the given time, with the budget, with the team, what they got, right? So,
Okay, can I give you an idea? And this is free. Um,
go ahead.
so now that you've got data coming in from the operational side and the experience side, are you utilizing any machine learning algorithms to go in and predict
Yep.
what customer needs are and what kind of experience is he looking for,
Yep.
inside or outside of the environment? What do you do there?
So we are doing so many things. One, we have 5 different types. We run risk propensity models. We have wrote algorithms using Python, So, and then we kind of use AI engines to, better the algorithms, right? And not only that, we don't stop there. The other side also comes on the resource management side, right? How many resources you got, who is doing what project, how do you kind of integrate them? Basically, kind of a scheduling model with the resource utilization model as well.
Mhm.
Because the biggest challenge customer have is because the resources are sitting in another system, right? They don't have that integration aspect to a project management level where you can collect all this data and kind of understand and how do you match, mix and match the group. Because there will be one set of people will be sitting, they might not be identified by the project team and they will be just sitting, in
Yep,
bench.
yep, yep.
We have done so much of different ways, to utilize this.
Sounds simple, but looks complex. So, Venkat,
Yes.
is it simple or complex? How do you go about it?
So it took us like
Wait,
2 years.
let me grill the CTO on this.
Okay, sir. All right. Again, I talk for you, brother.
Okay, fair.
So let me put it this way, Shelley. It is very complex behind the scenes, but it's very simple to use from the front end. So it goes back to, I think the idea today is also adoption.
Mhm.
So, as what Senthil was talking about earlier, we've actually focused on the design aspect to be very simple to use. And so people don't spend a lot of time, but
Yep.
yet they get value. Now, the complexity comes in the back end, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So, when you're doing a status reporting of a project, let's say, for example, so we do collect qualitative and quantitative metrics, and then we put some scoring mechanisms and weightages and the algorithms. Okay, that's at a project delivery perspective. But now we're also looking at from a budget to actual to burn. And what happens is then the risk elements come in and give you potentially watch for an overburn way before.
Mhm.
That could be a financials aspect of it. The second part of it, hey, you had a couple of design changes that could actually create a downstream impact. So these models keep popping up on the fly very easily. Now, that's where the complexity lies, is how have you combined the power of Qualtrics? How have you brought in data from not just from SAP or from other resourcing systems or your ERP source of truth, and then putting it back into the SCP part of it. So that part looks complex, but we have kind of, I think we have broken the barrier. It's working well right now. So I'm happy to say that it's going well. Easy to use, highly complex behind the scenes.
Good stuff. Well, for the audience, who guys who don't know, but SAP now allows you to not only utilize the data internally, but also external data as well, and you can bring it all together. And I think with the experience data, where you want to know what people are talking on social media, what people are talking elsewhere, I think it becomes much more easier to bring it all together and run predictions, run models on it, so that you can take a decision for your customers. So now it looks like very interesting. Abhiram, do you want to add to it?
Sure.
What?
So, so in addition to a couple of points that Venkata stated, right, trying to keep the UI as easily and as readily available to the end user, right? We have to make sure that when somebody looks at a screen, you're not over empowering them with a lot of fields. We're not giving them, anything that's unwanted. Make sure you're catering to the needs and making sure that we're aligned with the best practices. We're making sure that we get what we need and be able to deliver that seamlessly, right? So what we've done with Ozone here, we've packaged it with features and functionalities, in lines with Gartner's best practices of project and portfolios models, and also adhere to all of the PMI Institute's best practices, right? Couple of points in terms of the Gartner's model, 5 key metrics that any organizations that, look into to be able to adhere to these metrics are, people interdependencies, PPM processes, right? Anything related to your portfolio establishment, project management, office establishment, how the processes work within that PMO process, right? financial management. Where and how would you like to allocate your budgets? How would you like to split them across different cost centers, right? Relationships, technology. That's these are the key metrics that Gartner's best practices suggest, and we've always kept in mind that Ozone automates continuous improvements based off of these 5 metrics.
Very interesting, because in my view, technology can do a lot, but if you don't interact and there's no relationship, there's no collaboration, and financial management, they're not integrated together, I think we miss a point. And I think with this, you do that quite well. And I also thought that you guys have a demo ready. Do you want to have a look at the demo now?
Before we do the demo, Shailesh, I just want to add on to what we talked. So when the product platform that we're delivering, I just want to be clear to the audience that it's not completely pre-canned. The advantage is that we have a very clear, I would say, a question bank series kind of a adoptive model.
Mhm.
So when you're implementing at a customer site and they can actually customize it, the question bank allows them to give a starter pack, but they're also allowed to make a couple of changes and add their own things, which could give them the real feel of their own data.
Mhm.
So it's very critical that we're not saying that here's what we're delivering and what you have to use as the best practices.
Mhm.
The bank is available, and you have the ability to tweak it and change it. But our algorithms still work on the same metrics in terms of giving the weightage scores, so that the feed from the 5 pillars that Abhi was talking about, you still get that. So it's a rapid time to market, but it's also very close to what you need. And it's not prescriptive that this is what I will come and tell you the Gartner best 5 practices. I will allow you to customize to your requirements to an extent.
Okay. Let's quickly jump onto the demo. But before that, guys, audience, if you've got a question, this is your time. Put that in the comment section. I'll take that in the audience Q&A. And before I go to the demo, guys, please like and share this video with more and more people, so that more and more people can learn with what beautiful work these guys are doing with the experience data and the operational data, bringing it together, and how they're really helping the organizations. So let me quickly jump onto the demo, run that demo through for you guys. Here we go.
Ozone RPM from Sierra Digital is a 360-degree automated enterprise-grade remote portfolio and project management solution leveraging the power of SAP and Qualtrics technologies. Featuring automation, integration, experience management, analytics, collaboration, and real-time reporting technologies, Ozone fulfills your total portfolio and project management needs, including portfolio strategy, project planning, project execution, and portfolio balancing. The Ozone RPM portal is a secure enterprise-grade application deployed on your cloud platform. When logging in via the web interface using personalized user credentials, permission-based access is granted to a full suite of application modules and projects of your choosing. After the user logs on, a portfolio-level executive dashboard is shown. Top-level metrics provide a summary of project health, cost, resource, and risk metrics. Project tiles provide a quick snapshot of individual projects. For example, project tiles show project progress in relation to the planned timeline, planned cost versus actual cost in recent months, various health phases, and recent status. Select a project to get more details about it. In this example, the S/4HANA Lift and Shift project is selected. An executive overview dashboard then provides key metrics and summary level information. Starting with your project plan, Ozone takes an experience-based approach to project setup using Qualtrics. Qualtrics is the world's foremost agile experience management platform that lets you collect, analyze, and act on stakeholder feedback in real time. To begin, Ozone poses a series of questions to help you optimize Ozone's structure in various stages of the project. Support is provided for varying project types, which rely on distinct project methodologies. In this example, the S/4HANA Lift and Shift project is configured using SAP's Activate methodology. In the S/4HANA Discover phase, a series of questions are used to frame the application, including subphases and categories. Answers to questions are scored and weighted, so Ozone RPM can show the health of phases at any given point. The Project Finance dashboard provides summary-level information about project expenses and budget. The cost for each project component can be compared against the planned value. With embedded statistical algorithms for forecasting, cost projections for upcoming months can also be viewed. Ozone comes with a rich set of APIs which seamlessly integrate with SAP and non-SAP systems alike. This automates the delivery of real-time financial information. Here, the cost data from SAP's project system is integrated with the Ozone RPM platform through an OData API, providing cost visibility on a real-time basis. The Project Operations dashboard summarizes key information relevant to the plan, schedule, and progress of the project. A Gantt chart displays the detailed project plan and schedule. It simplifies management of project work teams and task sets, including allocation of resources and setup of task dependencies. Similar to finance integration, Ozone RPM can be simply set up to work with other project planning software, such as Microsoft Project, Oracle Primavera, or simple Excel-based planning. Ozone takes an experience-based approach to project status and health checks. Using simple and powerful weekly status questionnaires and other surveys to capture data, the most accurate priority information is captured and immediately reflected in the operations dashboard. If further clarification is required, inline email communication can be triggered. Inline email attaches the context of the issue to the relevant project resources. Ozone also includes an in-context document management system, allowing project stakeholders to upload and collaborate on relevant artifacts. Ozone RPM's resource management dashboard enables users to view, assign tasks, book hours, and manage timesheets. Risk management capabilities are embedded in Ozone RPM as well. This functionality allows you to track issues, risk metrics, and even predict upcoming risks across various categories. Further, Ozone RPM allows you to drill down into risk metrics in order to identify and analyze root causes. This allows project managers to take necessary and objective mitigation measures. When prescriptive mitigation actions are foreseen in Ozone, the application allows you to refine Qualtrics experience-based surveys in order to minimize or avoid risk. Ozone RPM features a mobile application which delivers the total capabilities of the solution to your choice of smartphone or tablet. The mobile application interface look and feel matches the desktop, making the experience completely seamless to the end user. Finally, Ozone's platform components are deployed and accessed through the SAP Cloud Platform. SCP assures enterprise-grade security, authorization, and control measures. Ozone RPM is in fact the ideal platform to optimize the S/4 migration process. Robust automation capabilities buy down the cost and time it takes to move to S/4HANA. Custom workflows minimize labor and implementation time, Embedded analytics alert you to risks and issues before they negatively impact outcomes. All told, Ozone is like an insurance policy, costing pennies on the dollar, assuring successful S4 transformation by managing all phases of the implementation experience.
Okay, guys, that was interesting. One question I have for Abhiram, you. What all components do you use? Do you use, so you've got S4HANA and SAC in front. What's happening? Can you explain a bit of the stack that is being used here?
Absolutely. So Ozone itself, as a software as a solution, is hosted on any of the leading cloud platforms, right? It could be on SAP's cloud platform, Azure, AWS, or the Google Cloud platform as well.
Mhm.
Post that, we're going to be having the operational data. It could be your ECC, your S4, or could be any other legacy ERP, financial data that you're having within your organization, right? There is the Qualtrics or the experience management piece in between. And we're also complementing any other existing project management software, your SharePoints, your Primaveras on the construction side of the house, any sort of additional data that we can feed into the Ozone tool, to be able to deliver those exceptional insights.
Mhm.
So we're openly available, and then we're feeding that data to Ozone as well.
Okay. Before I get to a very interesting question that I'm getting in my mind, I would like the audience, if you've got a question after seeing Ozone, please put that question in the comment section and I'll take that. And to the people who are a bit shy and are thinking, should I ask the question or not? To you guys, here is a link for you to scan, and you can actually put in your comments, provide your details, and if you've got a question, you can actually put in there so that we can reach out to the Sierra Digital team and they can actually then reach out directly to you. So if you've got a question and you don't want to mention it in the audience, perfectly understand that. Then you can actually scan it and actually go to that particular link and post the question to us, and I will send it to Senthil and the team, and they can actually look at it. So, okay, now my question: how do you see the market for this, for Ozone, Senthil? Do you find it that you've got a lot of interest in it, or is it how are you finding it? And also, apart from that, any real life use case that you've got to share? Here's your moment. You're muted.
I'm sorry about that. So, Shaili, I think for Ozone, we see a tremendous opportunity. I think in North America, it's kind of really, we just kind of had some discussions in South region. Now, for example, some customers are so interested as Exxon, Mobil, Shell, Motiva. We just sold to a couple of customers in oil and gas. To name few, Power Pacific was one, and we also sold to one of the major New York State is actually going to use our product line. And there is a lot of interest, from the federal side of the business, like armies and navies of the world, USDA. So a lot of customers are looking into it because this is one of the what to say, more innovative product line in the PMO business at this point. You would have seen a lot of product lines, but not like this, right? It's kind of it's very unique, very different, a completely automated solution. And what we say is, hey, you have something, we will adopt it. It's not you have to discontinue what you're using. So that's the beauty of it. We built the platform and we collect all the data points, and we kind of basically help the customers to make the right decisions, right, with the predictive and predictions and prescriptive analytics, right. We have we never stop our innovations, with this, right. We always keep innovating, and one of the things we are working on with one of the oil and gas customers, since we are based out of Houston, Texas, the oil and gas market was,
Yeah.
was really badly. COVID-19 has kind of taken a big nosedive in terms of the crude oil price, and the storylines, right? So the customers are like, okay, hey, we are in business, but what do we do, right? What do we do now? So we had a great conversations with a couple of CIOs, and we had come out with a strategy of, right, how do you make if a guy is coming or somebody's driving, and if they come to a gas station, to a retail gas station, the question to them or to the customer is, how can I make this guy to spend instead of $40 to $60, right?
Yep.
Because you have a limited customers. The only thing what you can do is you have to see how much more money that customer can spend on the retail gas station, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't come that easy, because it is a lot of data points, and we have to do a lot of matching, a lot of AI driven programs, a lot of deep learning, analytics we have to do to understand the pattern, to understand the anomalies, to understand the pattern. So we use a lot of surveys, using Qualtrics, when we kind of take a lot of kiosk, POS data points, and we kind of try and kind of integrate this data points and see, what is that kind of we can do to make the customer to come to you again and again, and also to spend more dollars when they come in, right? So a couple of iterations we did. Hey, so generally, if you go to the gas stations, usually they have a kind of a 100 items they have, but only top 15 items kind of has a 80% sale, but the remaining 80 products will give you a 20% of thing. But if you talk about the inventory and thing, so the idea what the customer had is, can we have a kiosk instead of having a people out there, right? And try to identify what is the top 10 product lines, right? And only have that in the kiosk, so that we can avoid more space. But again, you can get the pattern, repeated customers, right? So if I can give 10 cents less than the, Exxon or Shell, can I attract more people? A lot of things, So we are working on very active projects like that, very interesting projects. A lot of our data scientist guys are involved on those project lines. We use different data lines, which is like SAC. We use Leonardo platforms. We use HANA product line. We use Azure Data Lake programs, and kind of integrate those two data points. So a lot of good stuff we're doing, Shaili. Very interesting stuff, by the way.
Okay. I've heard that you guys got a war room at CNA Digital. What is that? Share that.
So I will ask Venkata to take that and
Yes,
baby.
Shelly, very honestly, so pre-COVID, we did move up. We actually moved up offices from the first floor to the sixth floor, expanded to 10,000 square feet. And we were trying to mimic, I would say, an open space. I would rather not say Google style or Apple style, but more collaborative centers. And the intention is that, like I said, what we are missing today is the ability the whiteboards were being written completely up. So there's a lot of back and forth discussions and thought that go through that. So yes, we do have a war room. We do go in once in a while, as much as possible. But obviously, we're trying to collaborate on this one. But one thing that I wanted to share in the demo, what the audience saw was a lot around the S4 story. But I'd like to just leave this thought with the audience that it's more of an overarching program governance, program management, PMO office functionality that is there that allows you to look holistically across your entire organization on the parallel projects that are going on. How do they roll up completely? Now, you can slice and dice this in different ways at what Senthil was talking about, but the intention was just not S4 migrations or just that. It is a far bigger beast. And you kind of put me on the spot saying, is it simple or is it complex? So we try to present the simple story
Yep.
And once they get hooked onto it, say they see the complexity of how it can be elaborated and extended beyond. So it is an open API platform. The what Adi was talking about, the ability to consume data from different data sources. So the architecture is pretty open,
Mhm.
and we chose to go the SaaS model. But if customer says that I want a tenant in my environment, we also provide that as an option.
Mm. Very interesting. I see a few questions, but now I must say one thing to the audience. Guys, this is your moment. If you've got a question, please put that in the comment section and I will take that. This is your last chance to ask question to these three people who are awake at 11 o'clock in the night in US trying to answer your question if you have any. So if you've got a question, please put that in the comment section. And if you are a bit shy and you don't want to you don't want to ask the question here, then you can send it to us through this particular link. All you need to do is scan this link and go to that page and answer and just say what you want to know about, and I will share that information with the team and they can get back to you. And very quickly now I will run into the Q&A section and start taking questions that have come in from the team. And I will start with the first question. Before that, I'll just get rid of the screen. From Thomas. Thomas Merrill is saying, what kind of new or breakthrough results can an XNO approach deliver to my business?
I'll actually, for Abhi, you love this question. I know you're dying to answer this. So I'll tag on to that as soon as you finish. Go ahead, Abhi.
Breakthrough results, just the ability to be able to gather this experience data in real time, right?
Mhm.
And being able to have that on a single, that one-stop shop where you can go and kind of act on that data that you've gathered upon and that operational data that you've been sitting on.
Mhm.
That itself is a tremendous benefit, Shaili, and Venkata, if you'd like to add anything else, but the ability to be able to cater that data is unbelievable.
Yeah, so people talk about real time, near real time. I think one of the biggest things is the transparency that it provides you at the fingertips. That's I think the biggest thing. And the transparency that it provides at fingertips at near real time with the integration points is what makes it more interesting. So we're not talking about a status report or a budget versus burn versus actual or a risk propensity that's coming up.
Yep.
The ability to drill down at a very rapid pace. And by the way, as soon as it is resolved, you're not waiting to call somebody. You go back into the dashboard and you see that it's been mitigated. I think that's the biggest kind of a transparency that gives to the overall PMO governance committee.
Mm. And let me add to that. If you bring in the operational data with the experience data, you get a good understanding of what your customers are thinking at the time. And it's not only understanding for what customers are doing, it's also what customers are saying they're doing. And most of the time, what customers say is not what they do.
So Shelly, let me give you a quick case study on this one that we were doing with the customer. There are about 13 parallel projects going on at the same time. And the interesting thing is the IT department sort of which controls the entire infra. They have competing conflicts. So one project is going live, somebody else wants another environment refreshed, or somebody says, I want to move something into production. Now, when you're having these 13, one of the biggest challenges that we actually basically resolved for the IT director was when somebody comes with a request, the ability to see what's happening across the board and be able to make a decision. And that message would go across to all of the respective project managers and in real time.
Mhm.
And that tied to the change control board is what actually I would say got them really excited, because it was not that I'm going to call for a cab and have everybody come in and say, yep, this weekend I'm going to have a downtime. Hey, but I'm running my payroll, somebody says, or somebody says something else. I think that's the cool thing about it is, yes, there are a lot of tools in the markets. I will not deny it, because we've been seeing a lot of this evolution. But I think the power of what we tried to do was, having lived through that life, what were those gaps that we found that would actually keep a customer very interested, is I think the critical point that we've been addressing in a much more open platform. That's why we're so excited about talking about this particular product today, as we continue to keep demonstrating with other customers. And it's just picking up like a blaze right now. It's amazing.
Good stuff. Let me ask the next question. Next question is from Paul Ebenezer. Hi, Paul. How are you? Hope you're enjoying the session. Here is this question. He says, is integrating XNO hard? Is it costly? What benefits can I expect from such an approach?
We never say it's hard. do we say do we say it's costly? We never say that. It's just value for the money that you always look. I'm on a lighter note. Go ahead. Probably the fastest implementations, and then the ability to go in an agile phase wise, I think is very critical.
So the timelines in how quickly you can kind of turn up the solution, and the customer can readily adapt it and be ready with it, right? We're looking at somewhere around 8 to 12 weeks. Yes, it is hard, but we're still going to achieve that, right? The turnaround solution is going to be 8 to 12 weeks, and the customer will be able to start feeding his own Ozone tenant or licensing with the data that he wants, and he will be able to see results by the end of 12 weeks. So in terms of the costs, I'll let Senthil Kumar talk about that, but the benefits, right? Reinstating them, risks, being able to understand risks and be able to predict these risks in early times based on the data that you've collected, right? And being able to act on that and have a mitigation plan for the future. That's something that's very key in terms of all and every IT projects, right? Especially the larger the organization, the larger number of people that need to get involved, and the larger requests that get approved. So if you have a mitigation plan well in advance, the better, and the faster that you can react on it.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Anything about the cost, Senthil, you want to share? Sorry.
So in terms of the cost, it all depends upon the customer to customer, but average between $50,000 to $100,000. That's going to be the cost.
Something, Venkata?
Yeah, I was just saying, cost always outweighs the value benefits. So we kind of look at it from that perspective, as what Senthil was saying. There is a component of an initial setup, which is very fast paced, and then you can keep expanding that very easily. And that comes on a per user license model. So that's the basic structure in which we're now evaluating. Now, the good thing is that we've seen the nice adoption of customers. They're looking at it from that perspective. So in that element, also there is the whole data privacy element. Security is pre-built. So who gets to see what? So when we look at it in full transparency, you're looking at who's an admin license versus a power use license versus an exec license. It varies in that aspect. So that's where the range comes in, is what Senthil was mentioning earlier.
Good stuff. Let me get to the next comment or question. Thomas Mell saying Qualtrics, they're experienced data people, right? Well, of course. Aren't they?
That is correct. Qualtrics is an experience management platform. They expand into different sectors and gather data out of products, brands, employees, and customers that is there for business lines. And being able to leverage Qualtrics and the mechanisms within Qualtrics, the tools, the data analysis side of Qualtrics, and being able to leverage that into Ozone is one of the key part of the solution as an overall.
Okay. Next question is, where is Ozone right now used? Any examples?
Customers?
Customers, yeah.
Yeah, several customers, Paw Pacific, New York State. We are talking to a couple of other customers, little confidential. We cannot give the customers, but it is more on public sector and oil and gas at this point.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Next question, very pertinent. Paul's asking, is it available in other countries than US or only US?
No, it's available all over.
All over. So if
All-
I was in Australia and I wanted
Yep.
to use Ozone, it's possible.
Yes,
Now,
it
in
is.
India, I wanted to use it, it's possible.
Yeah, because it's part of the SAP App Center. So all you have to do is just go to SAP App Center and you can, buy it. Yeah, it's certified by SAP Germany.
Okay, that's good. There's a question from Pradeep Balaji. He says, I'm a beginner to SAC. How could I enhance myself in its search? Anyone wants to take that question?
Yeah, the thing is, when you are a beginner, then they have to go through the exercise on SAC and SAC planning, try to understand the product line better. Then you have to come to the operational side of the house, which is more SAP project systems, and there's a lot of things which he has to do before he talks about or they want to take the journey on Xpresso.
Okay, next comment or question is from RTS Aravi, and he says, what kind of machine learning algorithms are used to integrate XNO in Ozone?
So we are using a Python-based scripts at this point, and then we are flushing in through HANA side of the house. We are using SAP Cloud Platform, HANA X's engine, extended service architecture we are using. And we're using certain algorithms provided by the predictive engine models, which we built, and somehow we are writing by ourselves using Python.
Okay. Next question is from Logesh Karti. He says, no, I'm a trainee in Sierra Digital. How to improve myself in it? What can I do for that? And can you give some suggestions?
Absolutely. I think they have to go through the path of training, and we have a set of curriculums which we will cover to get them to that side of the house. It's a course of trainings that they have to go through.
Okay. So you've got set training for Ozone as well for your employees.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we're getting a lot of questions from your employees as well. It's good. So it's got a good reach. I'm really happy about that.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff. Any other question I see? Okay. Pavitra says, which one is acting the major role of SAP? I don't know what that means. No idea about that. And here is the one. Myself, Rishikesh from Mumbai. Hi, Rishikesh. How are you? So I have a question on impact of COVID-19. How long the COVID-19 impact would be there on the IT jobs? Well, I'll turn this question around and possibly put into use. We have the chairman of Sierra Digital. So any impact on jobs in your organizations here, Senthil?
No, definitely not. We had in the past, I would say the first quarter, second quarter. Now the business is picking up. We are in the hiring mode at this point.
Brilliant.
Yeah, very true.
Good stuff.
So, what do you think?
No impact. Good stuff. So those were the questions from the audience. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm not sure about you. What do you think, Senthil?
Absolutely. I totally enjoyed it.
And Abhiram and Venkat?
Abhi, you want to go?
Yes, this was good. I had a good time, Shaili.
Good stuff. Venkat?
So no, I think it's been an amazing platform. So thanks, Shelly, for actually hosting us. We've been getting this message out. The only thing that I have to warn Senthil and Abhi is that post this, we're just going to be working all day and all nights. I thought we'd take a break in between with calls in between, but I hope this creates the buzz and they got the message that we're really into this one, very excited about it. What are the futures of it? And also just a quick comment on what I think See, COVID is a reality. And is it going to change? Yes, it is going to change the way we work. But I think these are what we are looking at it from an innovative platform adoption for not only us, for the customers to be more, effective in their entire collaboration. And so that's the intent with which we have gone down the product journey. And we're seeing quite a bit of an uptick in the excitement because they see the cool integration that comes along with it and the ease of use. So no, we had a great time. Hopefully, the audience loved it too. And if they have questions, they can please definitely reach out. We would love to have a conversation as a follow-up. But thanks
Before
again.
you go, I always ask my guests to make a comment in a phrase about the session or something on your mind. That's your time. And I'll start with Abhiram.
I feel this is a great way to be able to reach, people all across the world. Like, we were discussing, we've had calls within North America and, selected parts of the world. But I think with this show, to be able to do this with you, this is just gives us a broader audience and, more calls, more people to discuss with, I think that's exciting.
Good stuff, Venkat. One
Don't
phrase.
be camera shy. I mean, you said make it short. I'll say don't be camera shy. Today in the real world where we are working, unfortunately, I think putting on the camera, I used to hate it before. Very honestly, in the past, they say, let's do video calls. And I'm like, I'll turn my camera off. But, the reality touch, hat, hair, whatever it is, turn on your camera, smile, at least, have an infectious smile to connect with the people virtually and still be safe and continue to be productive. So thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Senthil, sorry.
Hey, thanks for your time, Shaili, and it was a great event. And what we are seeing here is another innovation, right?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
there's no COVID, we wouldn't have even had these conversations. So
Very
things
true.
I've been doing this far before COVID.
Oh, sorry, we
I've
were
been
not aware of it, but oh,
So-
really? Okay. So
Yeah.
we started, really getting into more sessions after the COVID. Before that, we were not part of any of those events, to be very upfront with you. This made us to see more cloud collaborative tools like this to get engaged with the other side of the country, other parts of the country, and try to kind of establish the brand of what Sierra is all about and what innovations we are doing, and we want to make this brand as a global brand. That's what we are expecting out of this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Shaili.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care.
So, guys, that was the leadership team from Sierra Digital, and hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you've got a question which you thought you wanted to ask, but you didn't for some reason or the other, here is an opportunity. You can actually scan this code and go to this link and write a question which I'll direct to the team, and they can answer your questions as they want. So please, if you've got a question you thought you wanted to ask but you missed it, you still can ask. Just scan this and send me a note, and I will ask that question or forward it to the Sierra Digital team, and they can reach out to you directly. So guys, thank you very much for your time. To the audience, guys, I hope you learned a few things out of this session. It was a great session in my point of view, and I think Ozone is a great platform built on SAP HANA and utilizing other components of SAP. I think I loved it. So guys, if you're watching this episode and if you like what you saw, please like this particular episode so that more and more people can learn from the Sierra Digital team. And also, please don't forget to follow me if you're watching this on LinkedIn. If you're watching this on YouTube, please press the subscribe button and smash the bell icon. If you're watching this on Twitter, please press the follow button so that you can get alerted when I'm live again. And if you're watching this on Facebook, then do two things. One is press the like button, and second is share this video to other groups which are more connected to the audience working on SAP and analytics, so they can learn from what Sierra Digital team had to offer. It was a pleasure watching you guys. Thank you very much, and see you soon. See you very soon, actually. Thank you very much for your time, and bye now.